WCCO Television, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
From WCCO Television, the Northwest's leading news station, this is the 10 p.m. report.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us. In the news tonight, agreement has been reached in a hazardous waste controversy in New York State, but some local residents are not very satisfied. The Reagan administration wants to chop millions of dollars from the Endowment for the Arts. Some folks are unhappy about that as well. The hockey Gophers are playing Michigan State tonight, having a rather rough time of it. And so is one man in Scandia, Minnesota. A rough time paying his home heating bill, thanks to OPEC. We'll have a report on that in just a few minutes.
But at the top tonight, hang on to your hats because strong and very cold Arctic winds are roaring over the frozen earth of the upper Midwest. In fact, Dr. Walt Lyons says the wind velocity will increase through the nighttime hours, shoving the wind chill factor to almost unspeakable lows. And on top of all this, snow emergencies will go into effect tomorrow in Minneapolis and St. Paul. More than 3 inches of new snow has fallen, making roads less than drivable. Dr. Walt will be along later with complete weather details.
In other news, one of the more spectacular crimes in the Twin Cities in recent years was relived today in a courtroom in Anoka County. Ming-Sin Hsu went on trial today for kidnapping and for murdering 6-year-old Jason Wilkman. Wilkman, of course, was abducted last May, along with today's star witness, Mary Stouffer, who survived that ordeal. Barb Brown now with more.
The search for Jason Wilkman's body ended here in the Carlos Avery Game Refuge. According to opening arguments today, the prosecution will introduce evidence that Jason's skull had been crushed with a blunt instrument, that the injuries were consistent with being hit by the handle of a car jack. Prosecuting attorney Michael Royth told jurors that Beth Stauffer will testify, will tell them that Ming-Sin Hsu took the handle of a car jack from the trunk in which he placed Beth and her mother Mary, the trunk in which for a while Jason Wilkman also rode. Mary Stauffer told jurors today that the boy named Jason whimpered and seemed very frightened when Hsu put him in the trunk. Later, she said Hsu told her he'd let Jason go after warning him not to tell anyone what he'd seen. Even later, she said, Hsu told her the only thing that had gone wrong with his kidnap plan was that Jason appeared on the scene. But, she said, Hsu told her it wouldn't be a problem because the little boy would never recognize him. The prosecutor told jurors he will try to establish that Hsu had planned the kidnapping of Mary Stauffer for years, that Hsu wanted revenge for a bad grade Stauffer had given him when she was his 9th grade teacher. Defense attorney Ron Meschbecher is presenting his case in 2 parts. First, attempting to show that Hsu is not guilty because he didn't commit the murder. Second, if Hsu did murder Jason, he did so because he was mentally ill. Mary Stauffer's testimony continues tomorrow. Barb Brown, WCCO Television News, Anoka.
A platoon of federal investigators are packing their bags tonight for Atlanta, Georgia. The Reagan administration has instructed the FBI and the Justice Department to assist the Atlanta police in helping to solve the murders of 15 Atlanta children and the disappearance of 2 others over the past year and a half.
Miami's black neighborhoods are quiet tonight. Some community leaders had called for rallies and demonstrations following the convictions of 3 black men charged with killing 3 whites during last May's Liberty riots. The jury deliberated 45 hours before bringing in the verdicts. We have this report from Elliot Rodriguez.
Verdict as to count 3 of the indictment, second-degree murder, Charles Barreca, guilty. So say we all.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's start.
The shouts of anger came from the mother of 17-year-old Samuel Lightsey. He was found guilty of 3 counts of second-degree murder. 25-year-old Lawrence Capers and his 21-year-old brother Leonard Capers were convicted of 3 counts of third-degree murder. The only defendant found not guilty was 17-year-old Patrick Moore.
As to count 3 of the indictment, first-degree murder, Charles Barreca, not guilty. So say we all, Dale Dallas Foreman.
The 4 were charged with the beating deaths of 3 whites on the first night of the Liberty City riots last May. Members of the jury, which deliberated a record-breaking 4 days before reaching a verdict, broke down and cried when they were asked individually whether the verdicts were unanimous. Lightsey screamed profanities at prosecutors as jailers escorted him from the courtroom. Mrs. Moore said her son will return to MacArthur North High School. The 3 other defendants will be sentenced on March 17th. The jury was whisked out of the courtroom under tight security, saying only that for now, they prefer putting the case behind them. Elliot Rodriguez, Channel 4 News.
Some had predicted trouble in Miami in the wake of last night's verdicts, but no trouble developed, and black community leaders believe they know why.
The jury in Tampa was out for 3 hours. This jury was out for 3 days. The jury in Tampa exonerated everybody. This jury took the time to implicate the guilty to the extent that they felt there was evidence to implicate them, and they acquitted the innocent.
The 73-year-old owner of Dole's Pharmacy in Highland Park and 2 other Twin Cities area residents are under indictment tonight on federal drug charges. A federal grand jury's indictment alleges that Virgil Doles gave a Minneapolis couple more than 1,000 doses of codeine and Valium in exchange for an unspecified amount of cash. Ray Donovan has been confirmed by the Senate to be Secretary of Labor, but now some Democrats on the Labor Committee that okayed Donovan are changing their minds. They want the hearings on Ray Donovan reopened in light of some new information developed by a newspaper in Donovan's native New Jersey. Jim McManus has details.
The letter says Bruce Laughlin, a reporter for the Bergen, New Jersey Record newspaper, tracked down 2 organized crime figures who told Laughlin they had done business with the Schiavone Company in the past. The most serious charges during the hearings linking the Schiavone Company to organized crime came from Ralph Picardo, a convicted murderer, a witness in a number of cases under protection of the FBI.
And Ray Donovan replied to the latest developments by saying he fully expects somebody to try to ruin his reputation throughout the rest of his life.
President Reagan, sitting alone in his private study, today signed into law a bill that raises the federal borrowing limit to the highest in the history of the nation. Mr. Reagan was almost forced to sign the law quickly because the old debt limit would have been exceeded within a few days, and that would have left the government without authority to borrow money to pay its bills.
Pass card saving with all its services has long been popular at Twin City Federal. Now with the new Gold Pass Card, TCF gives you Pass Card checking, paying 5.25%. Pass Card checking also gives you a variety of services. Bill payment by telephone, for example, the use of 24-hour tellers all over town, free personalized checks, and a carbon copy of every one you write. New 5.25% Pass Card checking from Twin City Federal, the most useful checking account in town.
Al Austin, Larry Schmidt, Don Shelby. The most dynamic investigative reporting team on Twin Cities television. Experienced reporters behind the scenes on tough assignments, digging for the facts that spell out crime and corruption.
I suspect that most of what we report will be information that somebody or a lot of somebodies doesn't want us to find out.
Channel 4's new investigative reporting team. If it's a tough assignment, chances are they're working on it.
Damage is estimated at $425,000 tonight from a fire this morning at the Clean Sweep Company in Eden Prairie. The fire also injured 3 firefighters. They were treated at a nearby hospital and then released. Several vehicles were destroyed in this blaze, but no cause has yet been determined. And in Jersey City, New Jersey, one of the 2 victims of an apartment building fire today had testified only